Everybody say, say, how can I express my gratitude for all the many things you've done for me? Words are not enough to say thank you. So Lord, you are my everything. You're my everything. How can I express my gratitude? How can I express my gratitude for all the many things, you Father, you done for me, yeah. Words are not enough to say thank you. So Lord, you are, you're my everything. See, I call you Jireh. You're my provider. I call you Nisi. You are my battle. I call you Rapha. Hey. You are my healer. Say, Lord, you are. You're my everything. I call you Jireh. You're my provider. I call you Nisi. You are my battle. I call you Rapha. You are my healer. Say, Lord, you are. You're my everything. Uya matinyina. Uya matinyina. Uya matinyina. Oh, uya matinyina. Yeah, so uya. Uya matinyina. Uya matinyina. Yeah. Uya matinyina. Uya matinyina. Say, I call you Jireh, say. I call you Jireh. You're my provider. I call you Nisi. You are my battle. I call you Rapha. Hey. You are my healer. Say, Lord, you are my everything. Yeah. Are you ready, everybody? All right, listen. William Ingram, come here. 1, 2, 3. I can breathe without you, say. I can breathe without you. I can move without you, Lord. I can move without you. Hey, who am I without you? Who am I without you? Say, I can live without you, yeah. I can live without you. I can breathe without you, Lord. I can breathe without you. I can move without you, yeah. I can move without you. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Hey, we are my thing now. So, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, oh
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on your location. Me ma ankrankra bia akwaba eba ene ye dwumedi a yato ne den se legal hour a ye de bam kwan every Friday biara na yato anamo ne ye de aba ene nso twede ampadaro ma adum na hwe ya ma ene ye twa ye ho a na wotwe na asan bebiom na ye de sa dwumedi eba ma kwan me gidi se baby biara wo you are looking good, you are feeling good, and you are excited say ene yaba enti no say yaba dia ene mesre weni die mo bomodia kan ye ho from now up till time 11 pe na ye de dwumedie no abawie ye. And for those of you that can't really understand our local language, don't worry, just after the program or before the close of the program we will translate everything in English for you, and we will post it out there so that you can also benefit from the topic that we've treated today. Enti baby biara owo mesra we ni die mo bomodia na share program ne mame. Emma enka say oh ene de topic a ebe treat no ebe nhye da mfa me home enti enhye da mfa me home ne me nhye dabi embia na wo no emfa wo ho de a unue bi wadamfo bi obusuani bi ono embia na sa asema na ye ba be dwindwiri mu ana ya pensen mu no embia na efa ne ho papa nti bomodia na share. Go to our Facebook channel no bomodia na like page no na fe ukoye YouTube no so you subscribe to our channel, like the page, and then mia notification bell na wo ho no se ne be ya abre bia ye baswa obehu no atenka say yaba no abehwe bi onu adofo ka me ho ene ye wasem papa de mamo na asem ne say eto de bia na potoka se mu no obi be say rejection banso rejection bia eni ho a eye finish se ne etie bia no bibi wo ho a obetumi aya afa we cry to make us say rejection crampo eye blessing in disguise nti no en worry se ne wo application etie bia ene ye ba be dwiridwiri mu nti no me de akwanya be ma me nua ba me sister Penny me lawyer bi papa bi lawyer Eunice no mfa nchia kese Emma etiefo na ahwefo na afedie no mebisa ye bia se update bi yedanya ne ye no home office ate no ho atwini omo ye kanese omo mita na ma bibi foforo bi pemu kode a na ode atudwa na se bibi sanso eni ho na dada na ye visa na fe careful na omo bae na omo ho atichi ma kire se omo sponsors no ya revoke and ya suspend omo sponsorship no omo license no na kire se omo no aban no di akonya bi di ato ho o se sisia no on sheda ma obi letter se sia na mom ne obeye ne se obema wa akonya na fa udin ne wo email wo profile na kire se ebi mu kra fa CV etu sa platform ne so se ne ebeye a companies are already omo existence na omo can say system ne mo no omo to nsa fro so omo hie nipa rent a hire omo de aye adwuma na omo to nsa fro sans na organizations government na ma some of the boroughs na organizations within no say omo mbua sa nkrofo yi kwan bia so nti se ofu se bebia wo no care ni bi yare voku unya baby nda unya baby ntina unya aduane ndi a na chese uya ye destitute a there are avenues ebetumi aboa na wegina wona so nti no no ni update me de amabala ni se bibisa enka ho de a ene me ma akwanya na fanchi akese metie for na afi de na yen topic e won me de abetu dwane aka ho asem pacho ma wa kwa aba ebadwumedie ne so. Okay, like
Based in London, we are a dynamic award-winning firm specializing in a range of legal services. Welcome to BWF Solicitors, a trusted and experienced law firm specializing in immigration and nationality.
yo ma sabai de ne de fast me fanchi akese ne mu ohwam ne mu ode ema etiefo na ahwefo a aba efidie iso mo ne ba be di dwume no titiru ne menua ba tiliduma tili wo de obi be se me bold nkra me sorry because oye ade papa first person na obehu na wa start share na ofrefrem crofo tili nyame nhira o tili afre na na agima so mbe kan ya home na na agima boss free legal education yempa free legal education unya ne ba bia bo mode na betie bi na won so fa hye okotoko mu se ne be ya okwa na odi watu safre Ezekiel Johnson Margaret Edujemfi abna ohene ba Asantoa papa bi munyina mo he Michael Abigail Semensa Nana Bob kia enima Raz Mame Tando Gifty Esiedu Ketichie mo nyinaa mema wo nchiachiachia mo hwam na mo de anope yi na Friday enche bia na Easter bo na em say next week kra na jama enkwala no omo bebe fie for the Easter break no enti enim say Easter another year for some of us, another celebration for some people. Kevin Asamwadin Chiakesi de Abase, good morning, man, and Lawyer Eunice. Kevin, Meji was super, Mijidi say, baby, biara, or one, and then one year. And yet, tennis say, ye visa, that's so air pen, the ye visa, no mumbo modia, now, government.gov, no, sorry, gov.uk, no. And now government.uk, no. Senior TN say, Sisiano, bibia ubeye biano, you have to rely on that site. Site no is not only meant for government official, there be a UK system. Meka UK system a oti UK abonten so nko dia. The word gov.uk no efa ho. Ope Chrome ha wiase nsem nyinara ukobisa saa website na obema wo mwaye na mwaye no obema on say o se udi can register saa website no na unfa wo details into no baby ebi wo ho ayesi government gateway se ne obetumi ewura system ne mu na why saa registration no saa nso na yi visa wo ho you first of all must create an account na you create na is very very simple. It's not bibia eye chinchina onti ase but then I can understand yen nuanom na sebio brofo kasa no ene computer mu no omo nhyeda enimde no endu echirisa enti omo saa no onye obi a obenwa onim computer mu kakra na onim entroye ne akenkan kakra na no wa ben no ubetuma your phone so you don't need computer before you register or create an account on the government site no you can do it on your phone. You can use any means be a phone there obi kita smartphone provided it's a smartphone you can use it to create an account or creating an account now o de wa onsem se o passport na okita se o BRP na okita ehho eno na obe use o de ye account na ma wa kwenya e de core system ne mo enti o core system ne mo afa bibia opese ye bia no obetumi aye you can generate a share code from there we are British ne now unhia share code there are so many things you can use that site to do ukope adwuma fo no pese mo hu se ampa o asetena okrom ho e wo ho ukọ rent dan a landlord ne biara obe demand se o asetena okrom anti oho no na obekọ na ode prove wo hu se ampa me wasetena na metumi ye adwuma ana me yese e wo ho no. It's a very useful site. Go and register there, create an account and you can access almost everything in this country. Information bia ope bia ewo honom yo menya kasa kakra yedu echire meto nsa afre yes sister no mfa nchie mu ohwam nchie mu ode ema etiefo na ahwefo na afi de ye topic ayewo no na ye de abetu dwa la Eunice me ma wakwa aba ebedwumedie ne so
Pacho Mejo, so what to say?
adom nkwa me ho ye mpacho won so
Nyamia dum Pacho me hoye bebre.
twede
I hope
aba
say nkola no so mo hoye.
obia they can wait some beba Easter break nti ehwe
Of course,
ba
of course.
ndiane nkwa na edi no 4 5 times na de bia fridge no na mo de aye ntewe and we be gbine no aduane bi enimu ana so we are looking for to die anyway
Yeah,
yeah
oh
what
the
program yeah me ma
oh
na we
the
ya e de abetie na ahwefo na afi de minji ni say yemre ne console let's reserve the update for now so that I'll go straight to the point yeah
Pacho.
na ye wo no nti me ma wasa akwenya mpachoko so metio
Pacho you. Pacho me chia it's here for ne ahwefo nyina me hope say nyame adom hoye. And then they are area ne pie no we are celebrating a new month. It's a happy new month to Munina. I hope say Munina Mohoye. Yeah, that my sister Mama Johnny Ejumadi. As we do every week, updates kakra. I just wanted to start off with EU nationals. Yeah, na name said since last year, British government introduced the electronic travel authorization. And no, to say visa
nkurɔfoɔ a wɔnhyɛ da nhia visa sɛ wɔde bɛba UK kurom ha no, wɔbɛgye saa authorization no na wɔatumi atu kwan aba UK kurom ha. Most Arab states such as United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Kuwait, and Qatar, and all those should I say Arab states, no, most of the time here visitors visa and none say almost back home, but they were introduced to this electronic travel authorization, no, since last year. And I sound so more Canada, America, most of the Southern American countries, to say Venezuela, Mexico, those other countries, United States of America. Omuninano, they were also introduced to the electronic travel authorization since January of this year. And then since 2nd April this year, which was just this Wednesday gone, and more I can say so for EU no more. Unhyɛ da nhia visitors visa, but wobɛhia electronic travel authorization into woba UK kurom ha na free Belgium, France, Spain, all of those EU countries, no, then you should be able to get an electronic travel authorization. Currently, no fees is £10, but they will increase it to £16 from the 9th of April, which is next week at Airbnb. And so, as much as possible, say wonim ebusuani bi a ɔte Europe na ɔka sɛ ɔpɛ sɛ ɔtena UK kurom ha deɛ a, anaasɛ ɔpɛ sɛ ɔvisit ɛno ɛhia, ɔpɛ sɛ ɔvisit UK kurom ha deɛ a, then they will need that electronic travel authorization. But sɛ ebi a ɔmowɔ nkrataa deda, ebi a ɔwɔ EU settlement scheme n'ase na ɔmo akɔsra obi ɛwɔ ɔmo aman, ebi a ɔmo akɔsra obi ɛwɔ Belgium, and they are coming back. And no, they're almost here, sa Itano, because they have immigration status already in the UK. But omu any sa immigration status no, and as omu ni sa EU settlement scheme, settled status, and as pre-settled status no, omu na umwe here sa Itano to travel to the UK. So now say oba visit keke ɔmo bɛbisa wo sɛ woetumi ayɛ wo ETA no anaa, ɔmo bɛhwɛ ɔmo system no so to check and find out if you have applied for the ETA. And that ETA no nso sɛ woyɛ application na it's valid for 2 years nti you don't need to reapply every time be a wobɛba UK kurom ha for that 2-year period. And when I say why yes application for the ETA is valid for that 2-year period, and at any point in time within that 2 years no obetumi aka sɛ wobɛsra wobisani bi anaasɛ woba visit kɛkɛ ɛwɔ UK kurom ha. So that is that in terms of electronic travel authorization. And also just to let Nkrofo know say, of course, home office fees no increasing from the 9th of April this year, which is next week, Wednesday. And see, of course, Nkrofo more family route no so is going to increase by £63. Into Sisiano, the application fee is £1,258, but almost Ebetum ako £1,329. Into that for the family route applications. IHS and answer immigration health surcharge no that's so the same into it is £1,035 per year for an adult. Into so year 2.5 years now £2,587.50 into and there that hosa. There are also fee increases across the board. Most application fees, no, and nationality applications as well. And see, so open so any application whatsoever. Fatu dream said fees na would name before no. Yeah, but soon by next week, and say it will not be the same as before. And say we kakri bi and me say it's safe for any ahwɛfoɔ ɛhyɛ no nso na yɛtumi atoa so with your main topic for today.
Yo, Lioness Medasi, emrene de cup nanso no ni nyinaa ye. So, dodo na aba no so nyinaa medinchia ema obi biara. Auntie Elena, a very special morning to you. Nigidi say, oh ye anope. So, we'll go straight to our topic. Your work for today. No, na eto de bia. Whenever somebody faces their kind of rejection, also said that's the end of the day. Na the we are seeing na be and so no there are so many ways obi face rejection or to me ejina so de ye bibi foforo na afei nso no ne epese ehu se adenti krampo na eba ne se menya sa rejection no ana se den ni den na meye sa rejection no kra menya but ene no topic ayeba abeka ho asem ne ye how can I avoid my EU settlement scheme application being rejected as not valid. Na say you can't valid there are certain applications be a ubetumi aya wohwe nhihye wo ho nyina na ebeka say it's a valid application saa nso na application ya na enu bia nso be ye wi a odbeko no yes your application is not valid reject it when mu ye nyome bia eya na ye na eman application na eba ne saa na ebi wo ho a woyɛ na wonnim a obi bɛseɛ ɛne ɛfa kɔdan lawyer na lawyer nkasa ɔnhwɛm na ɔnyɛ ma wo na mmom nneɛma nti a yɛbɛtumi egyina so na yɛ avoid such rejection no ɛno na ɛnɛ yɛba abɛka ho asɛm especially for EU settlement scheme application anɔpɛ mpo obi afrɛ me with such application sɛ ɔpɛ sɛ dɛn na ɔpɛ sɛ ɔyɛ na ɔmfeesi rejection nti ɛnɛ mato nsa frɛ lawyer Eunice sɛ yɛnhwɛ yɛmbɔ mmɔden a na yɛnhwɛ some of these things na ɛma yɛka ne sɛ yɛ reject yɛn in terms a yɛpɛ yɛayɛ application na yɛbɛka sɛ application no is not valid na kyerɛ sɛ yɛ reject na application na ntumi obi bɛ si na yɛ refuse but in this term we are talking about yɛbɛ reject as not valid nti yɛbɛhwɛ lioness mɛsa ato nsa afrɛ wo menim sɛ when it comes to EU yɛka ne sɛ EU application na yɛyɛ application bebree based sɛ yɛbɛnya settled status ɛwɔ kurom ha anaasɛ when it comes to the EU there then the terms settlement scheme no ɛno na obiara nim a ɛtale anaasɛ ɛbata EU foɔ ho na saa application a yɛ settlement scheme no na kyerɛ sɛ obi a ofi EU ni mu all the nation now come together to form the EU ɔmo tumi ɛba ha as UK na ɔmo mbɛtena ase ne ade woba UK na wobɛtena ase wobɛtena mu a mmerika kra wobɛhu a na yɛse apply for settlement scheme na wombɛnya either pre-settled status anaa settlement anaa settled status saa adeɛ mmienu wei afei nso ɔmo abusuafo a ɛyɛ dependent nso a ɔmo depending on this scheme no ɔmo nyinaa nso ɛbɛkɔ to the ultimate sɛ ɔmo bɛnya indefinite a built on the settled scheme no so anaa settled status ne so na mmom all these areas anaa status a yɛka ho asɛm no comes with an application. You first of all must apply, whether you qualify or you don't qualify. It's still based on you applying before they will grant you this status. No, na yeah application na MRP na mbia rejection abim anaasɛ yɛbɛka application na yɛ valid. Ɛyɛ ne yɛnhu yɛn gyinabea. When I say yɛn gyinabea, baby yɛgyina a ɛkyerɛ sɛ saa application wei meyɛ a ɛyɛ correct anaa nea meyɛ ɛmfa me ho nanso obi bɛsɛ mekɔtraa ahwɛ daabi ɛnɛ yɛba abɛhwɛ kwan bɛn na ɛbɛtumi avoid sɛ saa scheme yi a ɛwɔ hɔ ayɛ sɛ ɛfɛdi nso ɛda so wɔ hɔ because there are a lot of people are still within saa scheme yi mu nti no kwan bɛn na yɛbɛfa so a yɛbɛ avoid sɛ yɛntumi yɛn reject nti no first of all my question me want to say what makes an application valid under the EU settlement scheme ne so application bɛn ɛna yɛ valid ansa na yɛ face rejection no mpatwa wadaroma obetumi akyekye mu a ɛbɛyɛ me de pa
meda ase bebree ma yɛtie wasɛm bisa wei deɛ I think sɛ nkurɔfoɔ a minimum sometimes some mobile office crampo no face sa issue way. This is saying your work will be crampo afro in regards to the facts of person yeah application under the EU settlement scheme. And they have said so over 5 million people have applied to the scheme. So that shows how many people are currently in the UK as EU nationals and now say EU family members. It is very important to see the scale at which these applications are being made. And when we talk about a valid application, say you share your EU settlement scheme applications now, and no, and UK government need introduce it after or more withdrawal agreements with the EU. In him say the UK Brexited out of the EU January of 2020 and our Omoma transition period from January to December, which was 31st December 2020. Say, Obi Biara, Oye EU ni, and answer Obi Biara, Oye EU Ebusini, and answer we're retaining the rights, and answer our derivative rights. And I say, Obia Wakotana EU no more, even as a British citizen, on any EU ebusuafo eba back to UK no omo nyinaa ɛbɛba saa EU settlement scheme ase just so that they are protected once EU law and I say EU regulations are removed from UK law. Nti government ne ɛhyɛ daa bɔ amanneɛ sɛ ɔmo yɛ saa EU settlement scheme sɛnea ɔmo bɛ protect obiara. And so they realized that by December, no, they will need to give a grace period. And so they decided to give a grace period up until the 31st of, the 30th of June 2021. And so when you look at applications, they were just trying to make sure, say, in Kofo, able to me, I those applications, no, as soon as possible, answer that time, no, ebe trim. And so they made sure that as much as possible, no, say oh yeah application. I said to me, yeah, application no online. Most applications were done online. And now say for EU nationals, no, we started off on the app and then finish off online. Into most EU settlement scheme applications, whether for pre-settled, which is limited leave to remain, and now say settled, which is indefinite leave to remain, no, would have been online applications. And conform more derivative rights need there almost a year paper applications. So first of all, the application has to be the correct form of application, whether online and as a paper application. Secondly, so to me, making sure say application now I know what provided the right identification, either with passport and answer with national ID card. They want the right form of identification which proves who you are and the fact that you have this nationality or that nationality, and then your correct details into as much as possible no as ultimately provide the correct form of identification documents send your own to me identify or as this person or that person. And a thirdly, so in making a valid application, they want to make sure that you are also providing them with your biometrics. Into or biometrics, your fingerprints, any winning photo, and most people when they are making their application no either on the app and answer over call biometric center app no ebe scan with him ahwe senya wo sitie ansa na ascan wo biometric card and answer wo passport usually nkorɔfo what EU passport no ebe wo omo fingerprints integrated into biometric chip na ɛwɔ mo passports ni mu anaasɛ wowɔ biometric card koraa na your fingerprint is um, integrated into the biometric chip in the card. Into the app will just scan will biometric details, no, and with name so. Into most of the time they are looking to see that either say obey biometric no ever app no so as an EU national. And I say, oh yeah, non-EU national there and they overcall biometric sensor na wako scan or fingerprints and which are with name photo with that is the correct form of biometrics na omo hwehwɛ. And then fourthly, they will also want to make sure, say, as somebody who is applying onto the EU settlement scheme, you have been able to provide or give the required details as to the form of relationship just so that at least say also we are EU national, there are only person who say yes, you are an EU national. So we are EU family members, so they want to know, say, I am part who are providing evidence, say we are EU family member, whether by marriage or a child or whatever relationship at all, because you are currently involved in with the EU citizen. And then another thing that they introduced in 2023, the fact that so we a visitor now waba UK Chrome ha now so pursue your application to the EU settlement scheme there, you will no longer be able to do so. So you shouldn't be able to apply to the EU settlement scheme on a visitor's visa. Into Ukra visitor's visa now so pursue your application to the EU settlement scheme there. Unfortunately, you will no longer be able to apply to the EU settlement scheme as a visitor. And the reason being, so also over Hanum as visitor, they expect say wo visitor sign with chi akọ back to Chrome. Nti ɛno ɛnne sɛ ɛma wo kwan sɛ so woahyia wobisani wɔ ha na wopɛ sɛ wotena a na wode ɛno no ayɛ application under the EU settlement scheme sɛ wobɛtena UK Chrome a nti ɔmo ɛma wo nkrataa. Unfortunately, that will not be the case, and so it is important say, oh yeah, application now you are not making it because you were granted visitor's visa and so person na omoma and krata ewo UK Chrome ha. That is very important to also bear in mind, and I say keep in mind as well. And as of the 30th of June 2021, no, obi biara obe make his application, no, it is said that those applications are made late because almost my transition period, almost sounds so my grace period. Into if after the 30th of June 2021, oh yeah, application na open say oh yeah, application to the EU settlement scheme there, and there is a we explain and so my reasons didn't oh yeah, application no late. Yeah.
I see. Na kyerɛ sɛ ɛno will bring us to our second question nka mba bɛbisa wo a wama me mmuaeɛ no. But before a yɛbɛkɔ so no, membisa this quick question. Woka before the last statement you made no, woka sɛ woba visitors, wode visitors visa ba a, nka before no, wobɛtumi aka sɛ metenam na woayɛ application no. But this time no, after the date no mode mae no, you can no longer come in as a visitor and then decide say oh sisi a me pese me bo me busua wɔ ha nti me stay. And in that case no, say obi ɛwɔ me find say obi wɔ EU krone so sisi a, let me give an example. Me Germany, me a German citizen ɛwɔ hɔ. I might have a parent, a Ghanaian parent and a German parent together. Into your me as you can say German citizen. All these while I've lived there. But now no mpɛ me be adwuma ɛwɔ UK. Mpɛ sɛ me ba ha na me mbɛtena ase na me yɛ adwuma. That instant, what will be the process? Or say me ye, or say me di kan ba na me mbɛ testy waters. Na menhwɛ na menkɔ back anaa hɔ na mentena hɔ na start sɛ me apply say I want to come and live in the UK. What is the process? Meaning say it's still part of our topic. What will be the process for that?
Okay, so in regards to your question, Nadia, I think say you are looking at somebody who after na all bets na UK Chrome ha. Say sad net here. Unfortunately, they have said say under the withdrawal agreement, no, EU ni biane or maybe say ni biana omoti UK Chrome ha before 31st December 2020, 11 p.m. no. Omo and omo qualified to make application under the EU settlement scheme. Inti say wo ka say wo pese wo application na omo bisa for evidence to show say na uti UK Chrome Hub before the specified date of 31st December 2020 dia, then you have to be able to show evidence say na metri Chrome Hub before yebeye Brexit no. So when to me and case worker ne say na uti UK Chrome Hub before the 31st of December 2020 dia, then unfortunately you will not be eligible to apply under the EU settlement scheme. It is
mm,
only those EU nationals
mm,
now no moti UK Chrome Hub before the 31st of December 2020 no and no
okay,
mutumi year application no under the EU settlement scheme.
okay,
Nti oh bahanum after the 31st of December 2020 dear as an
mhm,
EU national, it means say ABA when you're skilled worker visa and our day back home her. When you're student visa and our day back home her. Even
mm,
so now when your British passport now first to come her where naturalized and say when your British passports are also back to the UK. And now Campo said you are coming on any other route which requires you to have a visa before
mm,
you come into the UK. Into me and say
me
after
ba be
31st December, oh Babetsnim,
mm,
unfortunately, Omobe rejected the application no, as invalid because
okay,
went to me and said now to Chrome Hub before the 31st of
31st
December
December.
2020. Yeah.
Wow. Nti na just almost saa no be apply to say Commonwealth citizen na either say when your skill work now apply
Yes.
and about
Yes.
now it is
Yes.
nipa ne ba ha as a visit na onya company bi pese o employ na company ni ma no COS and everything na then the person has to go back to the country na onya application ni from out the Chrome to the UK on to me nka say me ye wa ha
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ase na
Yeah.
ye
Yeah.
dwuma na kyerɛ
Yeah.
sɛ sisi ɔmo nyinaa akɔyɛ te sɛ obi a sisi a deɛ
I Sana on now on person they've made sure that everybody is on the same level.
Okay. Nti adɛn nti na coming back to our topic now, why must I give reasons say my application no were submitted on and I say after sa 1st July 2021 grace period no mo de my up to 1st July no. Adɛn nti na or say me ma reason say me ye application on and I say after no. Adɛn na or say me ma reason.
It's in regards to sad dates no of 1st July 2021 no.
Mm,
Like I said, they gave a grace period. Now omunim say in applications to the scheme. At the time, no, their estimate was that EU Crawford no Muti UK Chrome had by that time they should have made application to the EU
okay.
settlement scheme.
Mm.
And see if they were not able to make application between um 2020 to June of 2021, then they must give their reasons because some and they
Sa
made sure that employers would also inform our employees.
mhm.
Whether they did is another issue because I still have people today coming telling me that they had
Yeah.
permanent residence and they didn't know about EU settlement scheme.
Ɛyɛ na mi nwanwa. Ɛmɛ mi nwan line is me nkyɛn ano. Ɛne nansa this week a obi baa for employment sɛ ɔpɛ adwuma na mebisa no sɛ wayɛ settlement scheme no. Ghana ni o
Yeah.
a ne ɔwɔ ɛm sɛ Portugal onim nea meka no. Onim
Ah,
sɛ biribi di settlement kyerɛ sɛ ɔno watena mu ɔhwɛ ɛyarefoɔ na ɔgye do nti onim
wow.
what is going on. I'm so nti na asɛm a woka no yɛ nokorɛ but
Yeah.
ɛmpatɔ yɛtoa so na
Yeah.
membisa me question. Mm,
And see, of course, there are still people who don't even know, say, there's an EU settlement scheme, and someone make your application, no, almost to me protect your rights.
mm,
But could be dear, or no, they too quine, and I be no say, Madam, Pacho, will EU settlement scheme, here. Oh, me dem me wɔ permanent residence nti
hwɛ
na me dwen sɛ ɛno ano no ɛna ɔmo ka
hwɛ
kyerɛ ne sɛ
daabi.
wonyɛ safe nti patro kɔyɛ EU settlement scheme no bi as soon as possible. ɛna ɔde ba a yɛhɔnom sɛ ɛndeɛ ɔmo se ɛyɛ sɛ ɔkɔyɛ biribi na otumi nya share code bi nti ɔpɛ sɛ ohu saa adeɛ na ɛyɛ sɛ ɔyɛ ɛna mehu wɔ so sɛ na ɔyɛ EU family member nti ɔwɔ permanent residence nti one of the reasons that somebody may not be able to make the application the fact say because they already have indefinite leave to remain
Mm.
until they think said they are okay,
Yeah.
they haven't got any restrictions to their leave, but the
Mm.
reason obviously they think that they don't have any restrictions to their leave and they say with the old scheme and I say yeah, EA regulations 2016 no so a
Mm.
permanent residence na or a fibor but yen na yen him say after Brexit no yeah, EA regulations no longer complied with our UK laws and
Okay.
see unfortunately they were not protected because in Brana na ewo ho emma mo no ye
Mhm.
ye free ho nti
Okay.
sɛ yɛyi ɛno no afiri hɔ na wɔde new appendix EU aba deɛ a ɛnna
Mm.
it means sɛ sɛ wɔn making sure sɛ wɔbɛba new mmara no ase sɛnea wɔbɛnya saa protection no abɔ
Mm.
wɔn ho ban in terms of living here, working here, doing all that they need to do here in the UK. Because
Okay.
woda so ɛwɔ saa permanent residence no deɛ a ɛndeɛ you are no longer protected because mmara no koraa mpo nni hɔ biom sɛ ɛbɛ protect wo. So
Mm.
it's very important because nipa bebree no mo dream say me wɔ permanent residence me wɔ
Yeah.
no restrictions into ɛho hia say me yes application no but ɛho hia pa sɛ wobɛyɛ application no because mbra no ɛni hɔ biom a ɛbɛ protect wo nti sɛ wobɛhyɛ appendix EU ase sɛnea wobɛtumi ɛnya the same protections just like everybody else. Into one of the reasonable reasons are
Mm.
almost ɛde ato hɔ ne sɛ ebia na wowɔ indefinite leave nti na wodwen sɛ nhia hwee biom nti ɛno nti na wontumi anyɛ application no to the EU settlement scheme and you have to provide reasons ebia medwumemfoɔ no ama woenhu sɛ
Mm.
sɛ woyɛ saa EU application no and all
Ọhọ
this
na
time
Eunice mentwa w'ano. Ọhọ no na
yeah
mpɛ sɛ we
yeah
jump straight to that side sɛ nti no
yeah
aba ne saa no a still a mpɛ sɛ me afei na me ho aba me ho so sɛ
yeah
meyɛ application no. And I know for home office nso deɛ ɔmo yɛ biribiara ɔmo bɛma wo grace period. After the grace period still a ɔmo de wobɛsɛ windows bi atototo hɔ
yeah
for people are still but condition windows na wɔde bɛto hɔ for your escape ne nyinaa nso condition wɔ mu nti
yeah
nea mepa kyerɛ ne sɛ ɛba ne saa na wo a woanyɛ afei na wahu sɛ ɔsɛ woyɛ a would there be any reasonable reasons a wobɛwɔ a home office will accept ansa na ɔmo reject wo application no anaa? So my question is what would be the reasonable reasons and reliable reasons
yeah
wobɛtumi egyina so aka akyerɛ home office nea nti a wonyɛ saa
yeah
application a time a wɔde maayɛ no na wɔn atumi ayɛ ama wo a wɔn reject wo application no. I hope sɛ
yeah
wate nea meka no ase.
Yes, definitely. And
Mm.
see, that's why I started off with permanent residence and I said Nkofua or more the old scheme permanent residence. So the
Mm.
number one reason is Nkofua or more indefinite leave to remain. And I say almost normal permanent residence. So
Mhm.
they see a reasonable reason being the fact that because you had no restrictions to your leave, you
Mm.
therefore didn't know that you had to make an application to the EU settlement scheme. And no, you have to explain. Say, oh, me were permanent residence. ABR, me were valid date from this date to this date. Now mean any from my employers, and I say I didn't have notice until I traveled outside the UK and I was told to apply under the EU settlement scheme. And now I say I didn't have notice until the benefits Department of Work and Pensions wrote to me to say they wanted my proof of residence in the UK. And I was told to apply to the EU settlement scheme or I did an application to start school and I was told I needed to have a share code And I was later on informed that even though I have permanent residence, I still need to apply to the EU settlement scheme. Into having indefinite leave to remain could be the reason DNTR nipa korɔ no anyɛ application no, nti that is seen as a reasonable reason for not putting it in that application, but you have to explain further more in detail, because the fact that you are saying you don't know no is not sufficient enough for them to take it as a reasonable reason. You have to obviously give more detail as to the fact say now what permanent residence no, because of the fact say na ɔmo mbisa wo hwee ne nti na wodwen sɛ woyɛ okay until a ebia say ni say esiyɛ anaasɛ because of the fact say mate sɛ ɛsɛ meyɛ EU settlement scheme no mayɛ applications no a number of times, but I was not able to complete it. And I say I was always, let's say, rejected for not making a valid application. So I am now being advised by a legal representative to now put in the application and state in further details the reasons why I am now making the application as a person holding permanent residence. Into they want you to explain in detail their ɛkɔɔ so ɛma wohu sɛ afei deɛ ɛsɛ woyɛ saa EU settlement scheme because wowɔ permanent residence. Because nipa bebree ɔmo dwen sɛ permanent residence ne deɛ me here EU settlement scheme. Until now I need to do the EU settlement scheme because of ABCD. Ɛno na ɛbɛkyerɛ mo sɛ oh okay afei deɛ yɛate aseɛ in terms of the reasons the nti a one year application no by the 30th of June 2021. So that is number one reason. And you have to be able to explain in detail the nti a na wodwen sɛ wɔ permanent residence a wonhia saa EU settlement scheme. And then number two, another reasonable reason a ɔmo dwen sɛ wobɛtumi I put it down in terms of the NCA went to me and your application in the say so oya akola na ebia the fact say oya akola who is vulnerable and I say under the care system into sa akola no on any mama and any papa ente into they did not even know crampo say some yes application way until ebia care should I say social worker no ɛka kyerɛ ɔmo sɛ ɔmo hia biribi a ɔmo de bɛkyerɛ sɛ ɔmo betu kwan a ɔbɛhia sei ne sei ansa na ɔmo yɛ saa EU settlement scheme application no ama no. You will need to explain in detail say oh okay meyɛ akɔla a meyɛ under the age of 18 a me so meyɛ vulnerable person mentumi anyɛ application no because mewɔ care home nti ɛno saa no na menim sɛ ɛsɛ meyɛ biribi sei until sɛ me social worker ɛbɛka kyerɛ me sɛ ɛsɛ metumi yɛ saa EU settlement scheme application. So the second reasonable reason no ɛyɛ sɛ ɔyɛ akɔla under the age of 18 a wɔ care ase a wopɛ sɛ wɔyɛ application no. And then the third reason is the fact that sometimes there are people who are in abusive relationships. Into ABA because of the fact say relationship now no it was so abusive nipa chrono crampo and into me amfa or passports amal the documents that you would need for on or no EU nipa no crampo no and yeah they are on sa ebeka into because of the fact say the relationship and answer wawari and answer no emunye and the abuse that you're going through is more than you can bear and non no went to me and fa sa application no antum by the 30th of June 2021. So of course you have to state in detail abuse that we will go through and you have to provide evidence like we always say to show say say na mean to me and your application no by the 30th of June 2021. And then the fourth reason DNTR ABA went to me and your application and I said very reasonable grounds DNTR went to me and your application by the 30th of June 2021. Said ABA na wa we EU ni and I said EU ebusua na wo yare bi you were suffering from a very terrible illness. Into eba ne saa no, you were in hospital for quite a long time. There was no way ya over to me aye application no by the 30th of June. Over if you cramp no, you have become immobile. You are currently being cared for by other people. Into eno no saa no, eno ama nyama aka. Nti afei ɛna obi aka akyerɛ wo sɛ oh ɛyɛ sɛ woyɛ EU settlement scheme no because ebia woyɛ EU ebusuni ɛna sɛ ɔmo ɛhwɛ nneɛma bi te sɛ benefits a ɔmo de bɛma wo a ɔmo hia share code nti paucho yɛ EU settlement scheme no nti because of yareɛ ne nti wentumi anyɛ application no by the 30th of June 2021 until you have to state the reasons and then give evidence of your medical condition and of course share in detail the nti wentumi anyɛ application no by the 30th of June 2021. And now it could be say ebia nipa korɔ no na ɔmo wɔ leave to remain on a different route ebia ɔmo ɛwɔ leave to remain on the family route nti ɔmo deɛ they didn't see any reason to apply for the EU settlement scheme and they've now realized say they have a child who is an EU national that they could have applied under the EU settlement scheme as a parent of that EU child and non the derivative rights. In Tenono Sano, they will now have to explain, say, oh, because now me wo enkrata ewo sa root way so no. Na minim krampo say bibi sa ewo ho. Inti ansa na me leave to remain ebe no. Ena ye catch them say, oh, say ni say wobetumi ayɛ nti say woyɛ saa application under the EU's family roots no so wobetumi ayɛ application no nti ɛno no saa no afei na mebɛyɛ application no under derivative rights because na mewɔ leave to remain but sisi adeɛ mehu sɛ metumi ayɛ application no under this route no ɛna mepɛ sɛ meyɛ application no ansa na me leave to remain no ebewu. And obviously say oh provided evidence that you have to provide evidence say that so will leave to remain now or per se who say and yeah dear na what's the chrome how without nkrata but nkrata na afei na when who say will be to me IS application no under the EU settlement scheme. So that's also another reason DNT ebia obi a per se or yes application no after the 30th of June 2021 na to me agina so aka say DNT went to me and this and that reason. And so it's very important, especially when it comes to providing details as to the reason because like I've said say ebia nipa chrono share application na or share the fact that we are eligible to make this application they are going to look at evidence now we're provided to show say these are the reasons the NCR meant to me and your application no by the 30th of June and of course you have to be able to also let them know say what circumstances so for instance obia or medical issue you have to let them know that the circumstances that you are in made it so unlikely so obey to me a application not by yourself into ABR with the fact that you've become immobile no say nkofo etume boa na unya obia so a obeboa wo nti afei na ebia wenya obi a obetumi aso nsɛm aboa wo ama wayɛ sa application we ɛno nti na woyɛ application no sisi a I have a client in that same situation na ɔno deɛ ɔtaa yare nti for him deɛ na ɔdwen sɛ ɔwɔ permanent residence no saa na ɛteɛ ɔnhia hwee biom nti ɛno no nti he was able to rely on the fact said now or medical issues and nti na onim senya obetumi aye application no but he's also provided evidence to let them know say the medical situation is say ni say and it's here nti they will have a closer look, and then hopefully good news afa ho. So you have to be able to provide in details the or kase ebia say yare saa yare no prevented you from making the application. So you're a young person under 18 now went to me on your application now work here. So providing detail the went to me on your application no. And then if you're also somebody who is let's say somebody who has a vulnerable situation into you're an abusive relationship, there's no way now can open your documents and I say information they can put to make the application now. You have to explain in detail the entire because of sa abusive relationship no when to me and your application no. If you are also somebody who let's say has permanent residence or indefinite leave now we say oh because of the fact that na me permanent residence no na obia can kyerɛ me sɛ mehia saa right to work and I say EU settlement scheme ne nti na of course minim until say ebia me call uh we another job interview omo ka kyerɛ me sɛ omo behia me right to work nti afei deɛ aba me ne so sɛ sɛ me yes application no. You have to be able to provide in further detail the NCA opese omo sa akwenja odebeye sa application no because that is the first phase. And so when to me anchor through the first phase of the application dia to me ensure application mu crampo into you have to be able to provide those reasons the entire some share application and san omo ebe share say okay with documents now will provide for the application itself no and meet the requirements need now to be able to grant you pre-settled and access settled. So what permanent residence are almost person who or permanent residence now or say or yare bi now person provide the evidence I so to me provide the evidence of yare now or no so or evidence of the fact say ebia or your young person now take care home as say you have to provide evidence of a letter now be just or care home as say this is the reason why you couldn't make the application so or kase ebia na or you're a vulnerable person you have to be able to provide either medical evidence or other sorts of evidence to show say I'm part say ni say and I will film into I went to me your application no before the 30th of June deadline. So with every application you have to provide some form of evidence to show say I'm part reason na ma provide no and no evidence any senya mobetumi ahwɛ me application no mu ama me asetena na me hwehwɛ no nti when it comes to reasonable grounds ne deɛ they will list it in their guidance as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 but there is also who say what circumstances no so in regards to the reason you're providing no in here so when to me I'm providing in detail reasons in regards to your own circumstances relating to each of the reasonable reasons na mabubona then unfortunately they can't decide because of course it is a case by case basis and so okay so now unim keke dia it's not enough to say now unim crampo say yeah EU settlement scheme so case worker no dear nkurɔfoɔ bebree ayɛ application to the EU settlement scheme into to them no dear obia at the EU settlement scheme no into just to say that you don't know is not enough you have to provide detailed explanation of the reason the NCA afei na wɔbɛyɛ wɔ application na ɔmobɛtumi ahwɛ na ɔmahu deɛ a ɔmobɛtumi ayɛ afa ho yeah.
Yo, hey, nature say home office. If you have a reasonable ground, yeah, definitely. On bet to me, I baby, but grounds now on so no say yeah, very con. Na ninyi na echi no. Ubetumi de wa no keke akwako. No keke akwako can no explain. Minim say when it comes to certain things, na kyerɛ sɛ ɔsɛ nea woka no nyinaa wonya ho adanseɛ na wode kyerɛ sɛ saa na ɛteɛ na adanseɛ no na ɛsɛ sɛ evidence nea wobɛka biara no apart from beginning na nti woka sɛ ɔka sɛ permanent resident no nti no ɔnim sɛ ɔsɛ wɔyɛ no ɛno deɛ woyɛ explain na wode permanent residence wei ne ɛde kyerɛ ne ade to serve as what an evidence for you. But nea keka nka ho na wokeka ne nyinaa no like you sɛ wonni evidence would that still be possible anaa te sɛ wode evidence ne ka ho na wo obtain evidence then so a woka GP deɛ woka hospital deɛ na just say you must have everything from these areas na umfa nka ho na wode akɔ ansa na umfesi rejection patcho sɛ saa na ɛteɛ.
Yes, it is very important so we bring here evidence because the reason they ain't here almost be for evidence ne say obi betimi de nano aka keke ele krom ha de yedim kasa pa say oma obi microphone say on kasa hey I'm sure say nipa no betumi aka nsem bebre emfa ono kasa no ho krampo. See, they don't go by just word of mouth. When it comes to applications, especially they want to see that what you are saying is true. And see, they need something to support your statement. They need something to basically confirm and answer to also let them know say their will cannot so if you don't have any supporting evidence and answer documents that can help them decide, say their work no credit, then it makes it difficult for them to also not reject your application as invalid because they are looking to see if you can give them reason enough for them to actually process your application. Into say, oh, I say, ebia me yare for 2 months because that hospital see I say ni say na me but me need evidence behind. They'll be like, are you sure? I mean, they have as part of their guidance a discretion to also question for more information and answer for evidence, and they will give you a 7-day period to provide evidence or answer information in regards to the NCR Oka said this is your reasonable reason for not making the application in time. Until they have that discretion. And as to whether they will use it is also another question. But you can always refer them to that and say that because your guidance is stating that you can still request for the information or the evidence in regards to the reasonable reasons why my application is late, you could still do so before making a decision um, in regards to my application. It is very important to also let them know this because with most caseworker guidance, there is always that discretion. They say requested for further information and as a further evidence when it comes to these sort of applications. But if you are doing a repeat application, ABI, why your EU settlement scheme application, no, why a number of times and refusal, and you are still making the application, you may not have reasonable reasons the entire will sign your applications view because nim say for per repeat applications and then say repeat it. But unfortunately, as of August of 2023, you can't just be making repeat applications just so that you can just buy some time. Say when to me and say this is the reason why you are making the application, dear, especially in regards to the uh, points I'm raising in terms of reasonable reasons. Yeah, you can't use repeat application as a reasonable reason, didn't you? Some show application. No. It is very, very important that you stick to the criteria no mo dia masenya asem enkoba ho.
Yo, Lawyer Eunice, you better see adeɛ biribiara ehia sɛ wobɛkyerɛ na home office still nkurɔfoɔ are still making this application na wowɔ good reason nko a Obi bɛka reasonable grounds nko a sɛ die ni sɛneɛ lawyer no ma examples no wowɔ bi nko a deɛ a application no yɛ nanso afei nso no sɛ wohwɛ na ɛkyere so a bɔ mmɔden a na kɔhu lawyers no deɛ ɔmo borɔfo no ɔmo explain a mu pi so ɔmo tumi use terms na home office kinka na ɔmo ani so bere ɔmo na afei deɛ ɔmo agye ato nti no sɛ wowɔ situation saa na you settlement scheme application no sɛ still a ogu so na ohu so na rejection baa na ɛba na ɛnɛ yɛakyerɛ kwan a wobɛfa so a ɔmfesi saa rejection no sɛnea ɛbɛyɛ a yɛnka sɛ wɔ application yɛ ɛnyɛ valid no follow these guidelines no na abɔ mmɔden anayɛ afei nso sɛ still a mbia na ɛkyerɛw so deɛ lawyers no wɔ hɔ they are there to support you, they are there to help you kɔhu ɔmo na biribi kakra a wɔde bɛto ɔmo nsɛm no ɔmo bɛtumi ayɛ ama no ayɛ successful yiyi application no still a bebree wɔ system no mu lawyer ni sɛ ɛbɛda ase yɛmmere no kɔ a na ɛkɔ nti no kakra na aka no mɛgya ama etiefoɔ ne ahwɛfoɔ sɛ ɔmo wɔ questions mbisa bi a ɔmo pɛ sɛ ɔmo bisa no akwanya ɛwɔ hɔ na ɔmo mbisa reverend me nso 1 or 2 questions a mewɔ no mɛkɔ so na bebisa nti maybe telephone lines no ɛde atum producer patcho obetumi ameki yemida ase na kyerɛ sɛ 0208123116 no obetumi afrɛ so ofra meyi wo mboaye mema wo mboaye na sɛ question no ɛwɔ hɔ na lawyer Eunice nso betie na wama wo answer pɛpɛɛfɛ afei nso no yɛbɛtumi nso afrɛ 073-9920-8468 ɛno nso no wobɛtumi afrɛ na wenya wo respond pɛpɛɛpɛ however mbia na baby a wɔwɔ no wokasa a mbia ne akyew nso question ne da wakoma so ɔpɛ sɛ obisa bɔ mmɔden anabɔ so ɛwɔ WhatsApp yi fa send WhatsApp no bisa ma no ma send no sɛ ampa ya ma wo mmoaye se na tie ne number ne yɛ 07596620 Bomodia it's only WhatsApp memfrɛ ɛno so WhatsApp nko na mo question bi a obi atro aba efidie no so aye friend Matthias Frimpong Matthias mema good morning I say good morning lawyer a friend has made an application under the EU SS family permit from Ghana. The application was submitted in July 2024 and has not received a decision yet. What could be the cause? Hey. Anna, I appreciate your question, but sometimes question me read there. Anna, hear me say, lawyers mo be so musati, so mo ye home office. But ne nyinaa mu no kyerɛ sɛ ɔmo yɛ lawyers ampa sɛnea ɔmo betumi ama reasons a ɛyɛ possible na wɔbɛka sɛ possible reasons a etumi ma application no ɛkyɛ based on their experience and the numerous thousands of millions of application ɔmo ayɛ a ne nyinaa I go through such incidents nti no Matthias lawyer Eunice Beyiwa no sɛ adɛn nti woyɛ no 2024 na lawyer Eunice adenti still an in sankam why adenti na ache my answer.
To tell you the truth, there could be a number of reasons. The first reason that jumps to mind is the fact that obia will workload, and so sometimes it can be overlooked. And see, sometimes if 6 months has passed, that's why it's very very important. Says 6 months no so now won't say sure obey complaints and answer pap to be able to remind them say my application need more share into patron mame. So it could be the fact that of course they may have a lot of workload and they haven't should I say forgotten you, but over the way they are not to change kakra into because of that is important for you to have made a complaint by the time the 6 months was up. So a lawyer na or dealing with it obey pap na way to me them. And the reason why pre-action protocol is necessary is because sometimes caseworkers no they are not necessarily lawyers. They could be anybody, I mean, who has applied to work for the home office and then they've taken on that person. So maybe I want to say in Brandon say in terms of making sure say a decision is made within 6 months into so obi a bringing for a papa, then they are able to, that department is able to chase up the caseworker dealing with the issue, and then they can get a decision to you as soon as possible. um that is one of the main reasons that of course they would take longer than usual to grant. And obviously it's to do with an entry clearance joining family member, and so they need to make sure say bibi biara here in terms of making that application um not just valid, but in terms of meeting the requirements under Appendix EU family permit has also been met. And see if they need to verify information, they will verify the information from whichever department they need to verify it from. So whether it's birth certificate and I said DNA and I said evidence of dependency, if they need to verify any piece of evidence, also so they would use that as a means to say "Enunti na omo ache," because they are trying to verify the information that you've given as much as possible. So there are a number of reasons. I can't um categorically say it because of say, but at least these reasons that I've given are some of the main reasons the NCA to me are taking longer than the 6 months to make a decision. So this one is almost a year. You have to be able to make a complaint and then let a lawyer put in a pap for you. Yeah.
Yo, learning is a better sis. I hear your application dear. Na smooth, but say cha na bibi ne kremu. Into like lawyer is kind on share non kun lawyer no on chase you mo. Say bibi the can say you can say pre-action protocol.
Pre-action
We
protocol.
no
Yeah.
famu. Into to me, yes sir, na on bisa say I didn't na
Yeah, I
de
don't know. My friend of PAP into
pap.
pre-action protocol.
Ah, okay.
Yes,
So
into and no no uma a lawyer share and no because PAP is usually the legal issues and the law under which the
okay.
person is making the complaint. And see, of
Okay.
course, you can put in a complaint, a lawyer can put in a PAP for you.
Mm,
And if you also want to report issue not to local MPs as well, you can also do so.
mm. Okay, Obi asɛn yeah, make say question momfa mbra platform no. Obi asɛn question wɔ ha menkan ma yɛ. Me nua bɛma me da ase. Ɔse, good morning manye, good morning lawyer Eunice. I received a letter to provide travel evidence within 10 working days to prove my traveling to Ghana for DNA test. I applied for an extension to submit the evidence, but haven't heard from the case worker yet. However, the deadline has passed, and without receiving any extension letter, my evidence is ready, but the date of submitting passed 3 days ago. Can I still submit them? Oh, yeah, I had you. Linus, need dates. Patronia me kind of team as here.
Nti Oma requested for further documents, but
Mhm.
date no mo demand na pa ho.
Yes.
If it's an email, then of course I would submit the evidence as soon as possible
Mm,
because say almost for decision and by idea, then
yeah. Mm,
submit the evidence as soon as possible. And Fahun said time no demand will not
mm,
atrium. Just
mm.
send the email and let them have a look at the evidence that you now have. Yeah.
Okay. Nti me nua a wotie me, ɛnka sɛ wei send kɔ sisi a ntwɛn koraa 3 days o a wodeɛ send kɔ ɛyɛ email nko ara no deɛ, hope sɛ ɛbɛtumi ayɛ. Oh, na wɔ question. Okay, membisa ne boy question. Ɔse, can my wife reapply after she's been refused on 2 occasions? She was on pre-settled status. I'm due for settlement in August. Enti ɛnɛ bɔ ɛnɛ no nea akeka no ɛkɔma wo paa sɛ wo yere settle pre-settle ne ya refuse no twice deɛ a na kyerɛ sɛ there's something that or there was something that she didn't do right, another there is something that she kept doing wrong. enti no mesrɛw bɔ mmɔden a nea program a yɛayɛ wowie a san kɔ na kɔtie because la Eunice ama obi bɛka 1 2 3 bullet point a ebetumi yɛagyina so na yɛde refuse. So if you get them right now wobɛnya. However, Lioness bɛma wo mmoa. Lioness ɛbaa ne sɛn ɛna maame twice nti ɔse I'm due for settlement in August. You are refusing it twice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so Odikanka said she was on pre-settled status and I refused the application twice. I would like to know if the pre-settled status na yede man no time na trim and na or koye application for settlement and na oman farm no. If it was because she was making an application for pre-settled status and oman farm man dia, why did he not apply for appeal? Why did he lodge an appeal with the courts to say Mary may apply star for pre-settled da mo mfa ma no me de court na court no ahwɛ enyema no mu ye na omo etumi de ama no nti that will also be another question I would like to find out why he also didn't appeal the decision because obviously you have the right of appeal and you can also reapply. But in this instance, making a repeat application will not give you reasonable grounds for your application to be valid. And see, that is also not, should I say, a sure banker in terms of reapplying again under the scheme because you should be able to get a better way to redress the issue. Into the reasons the Intel will refuse and why they didn't go for appeal are all reasons that we need to look at. And so I know say maybe answer now mede man no ebia ensheda and call the way I open no, but he needs to be able to come and see us so that we know how best we can help him solve the situation. Yeah.
Okay. I've got one question here. I think the question keep sending it through the text message. There's one on screen, but let me read this one first. I see. Good morning to you. Quick question. I see. Please, I need to include a cover letter for naturalization, or does it not matter? Okay. In a question form. Okay. Also, the referee form is to be completed manually with a photo attached but uploaded digitally. What's the reason? What's the reasons? The back of the signed photo cannot be seen when it's glued to the form as instructed. What's the point? Please. Yo, Mama, me that's it. Question, no. Line is with the home office. Yeah, bomb suboa. What's the point? There was the point. Osi me me di yen sign ewo photo nechi. Meanwhile, no so me sign glue photo nechi.
Ọmụ
So
ka asa o. Ọmụ ka asa ọmụ pe signature na say din we photo n'echi.
okay,
Nti
so
ye na ye pese ye de ye di di signature etu echi.
say I be a tito a free application na
Yeah.
top up of baby no be tama no one
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
oil.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
once said before those time, I mean, oh yeah, any application with photo biana, they require you
Yes.
write your name, sign, or
Yes.
even stamp at
Yes.
the back before you.
Yes.
And I believe say now a no money the basic
Paper
reason.
applications.
Yes, sir. Good.
Yeah.
In see, no, apart from the photo, no, see the referee. Let me come again. As the referee form is to be completed manually with a photo attached, but uploaded digitally. And to Bisa, what's the reason? And I guess she
Okay.
just wants to know why um it is so.
It
But
is so. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sure.
Okay. I think first question she asked was, does she need a cover letter for her
Oh, okay.
naturalization
What Trump
application?
said, it is clear in the guidance. They said the referee must put their name and their date of birth at the back of the the referee should put name and date of birth at the back of the photo. Let's just say that's what the instruction is saying.
Not necessarily. If you look at the guidance, it states that the referee should put their name,
Mm-hmm.
signature, and date on the referee page. So clearly on the referee page, it says referee's name, then their signature, then the date. So there
Mm-hmm.
is no requirement whatsoever for the photo. In
Okay.
see, if you want to put your name on the photo, you can do so, but they require the face. So they want you to put that photo on the sheet so that they see the face, because they want the referee to be able to identify you as an
Mm-hmm.
applicant. Into you as an applicant, your photo is being identified by the
The
referee.
referee.
And so that is
Okay.
why you put your photo on the referee page. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of cover letter, yes, you can put a cover letter, especially if, for instance, you've had issues making the application before. So
Mm-hmm.
if for one reason or the other, we application no, ebia omo will say what time non so yeah, because if you were not able to meet that 10-year requirement. Of course, now there's no 10-year requirement after you were able to gain immigration status in the UK. So yeah, as long as you are able to show lawful residence for 5 years, you can put in a naturalization application, and then you now have to explain yeah, the reasons why you think that you should be granted naturalization under the British Nationality Act. Anybody who is of full age and capacity who can show say on two crime within the 5 year period for more than 450 days, and I say on two crime for more than 90 days within that last 12 months, no, will be able to make the application having met the other criteria under Schedule 2 of the Act. Into Ebene say you have to be able to show say you have indefinite leave to remain, which is no restrictions to your immigration status in the UK. You also have to be able to show say you are somebody who meets the good character requirements into, and nyɛ biribiara sɛ wayɛ bɔne bi a ɔmo betumi ɛtea wo hɔ. And you should be able to show say you've been able to do the English language test, and answer you have an undergraduate degree which meets the required English framework level. And then you should be able to also show say why your life in the UK test and you
Mm-hmm.
have passed. And see, if you are able to meet all these requirements, you state it clearly in your cover letter for them to know. And we now know that as part of their good character requirements, their guidance states say so uba UK Chrome ha illegally, which is woni nkrataa sɛ woba anaasɛ woba no na wonni hwee, ɛno ane sɛ wowura mu, then you may not be eligible to apply for naturalization. So sɛ wode biribi baeɛ na ebi a wabɛyɛ overstay adeɛ a, ɛnde you can explain sɛ ebi a mede visitors visa na ɛbaeɛ, ebi a mebaeɛ no me use edin 4 anaasɛ me use three different names, but sisi a me din de akosua mmienu, nti sisi a saa akosua mmienu edin ɛna me use, nti mepɛ sɛ mo etumi gye me nkrataa based on saa edin wei a me use. Nti it depends on what the circumstances are. Yeah. Oh, menhyɛ da nse deɛ woka no.
Yeah, thank you.
Aha.
Actually, was sending a photograph of what is said on the guardian's note about the
Okay.
passport photo. No, Yemre into just a quick one. See on the back, a referee and identity. No, or see
Yeah.
passport photo on the back of the application photograph. Please write their full name and date of birth. The photograph should then be glued into the space
Yeah.
provided. Enti
Yeah.
I think say Hona na obisa say what's the point? Say
Mm,
what no sound glue. What's the point?
mm,
But I mean, mere meaning, and I say literally, I can just say,
yeah.
yes, and be not glue, no, anchor, yeah, good.
Yes. And that is the main reason.
We can
Yeah.
always get the photo of
Yes.
who
Yeah.
the person is. Into me,
Yes. That's
I
the main
think say
reason.
basically that is, I mean, we best say the common
Yeah.
sense behind it. Yenya
Yeah.
one call after that we put ye the dwumade no bebe wi ya me hu sa fe na nkrofo sending messages but mo fan che why miracle odofo wa homa so mpacho o kasa frame ye nte onka.
Good morning, Manye Enila Uni.
Good
The
morning.
Caterpillar working on Trent, the feminine Naya.
Okay.
Yeah, we did the surgeon, Mohoya.
Adom, yes.
Yeah, Larry is patrolling in camp.
Ote onka pa akoso.
Lovely. Me patrol, me worry you need 2020, December.
Okay.
Na Oman farm, me into me Chimanson, and 2022, Omoda Satan Mammy.
Okay.
A bill 2027.
Okay.
Until last year, and I mean email from UKV, I said almost 2 years account. Now, my friend almost said me who no system no. They told me that the car 1 month, I'm at 27 and I'm the back home. Right. Now 2025 and I'm worry in fear numuni. To December now they in fear numino. So me apply settled status na BBNT. It was ordering bonnet and what papa. BB ya farm mamia. A bit affected me subsequent years na akanana. Thank you.
But okay, line is very mount, but I
Okay.
didn't know farm now. Say we're due for your settled status. Now, yeah, already now no mama pre-settled no me boy. Now you are due to settle status. No, why would based on the reasons and yeah cano. Anyway, lawyer Eunice Maminji assembling through one. Nanga maybe some 1 or 2 questions, but just answer him now.
Yeah. Until I say the 5 years no best so December of 2025 as per the data or the worry. And so if his 5 years will be up this December where then he should be able to show continuous residence from December 2020 until December 2025. And I've realized that with the applications that we do, even if let's say EU national no or indefinite leave to remain or UK Chrome they will still sometimes ask for evidence to show say normal person who said na only nipa and it could be say EU national normal who say based on the NI no yɛnhyɛ dɛ who say na ɔyɛ adwuma nti we need evidence to show say na ɔte kurom because they need evidence of continuous residence. There isn't evidence to show said na ɔyɛ adwuma saa nti the benchmark is continuous residence. Nti ɛno no saa no you have to provide evidence for each year within that 6 months period to show say ampa EU national no ɔne me ɛna atena for that continuous period of 5 years. Nti you can provide GP letters, you can provide bills, you can provide bank statements. Biara owa efa fie hɔ no for wo anaasɛ wo yere no na wetumi a provide. And most of the time if you're able to show continuous residence, yeah, I don't see why they should refuse you unless your 5 years is not up. So 5 years no so yeah, then of course they will say you haven't shown evidence of continuous residence of 5 years. It's 5 years no so answer na why yes application no. And like I said, they will still require evidence for yearings so you must gather evidence for both wo and year as well.
Yo, Patrosa what ya said ye?
I'm a chance to
Okay, yo, that's it. Share program ne mami o me share no share.
oh, no, Madam is sorry, I need to mess up our money.
Mate, that's it. Okay, La Eunice, say you did you made na be but there is one question be board. I'm not picking up any calls. There one board. Yen answer no keke na afi yen kwasi. Is it mami? Masim. Please, an application has been made for a friend, but Home Office is demanding for financial dependency evidence from the sponsor, but it can be provided. So, please, what are the when last week, so last week we spoke about this, and I even asked questions. Hey, now me Home Office give me statement. I mean to me from statement in kwe will be best here. Once the one pound need £2. Now, baby say then me want £2. Now me to me sponsor will be no. Into me the same question we spoke about. Mommy,
Yeah.
quick last week, my program with Lionis, we've
Yeah.
stated almost all the options you've got. However, Lionis, money, just a quick one. Nah, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. It's a sense of financial dependence in India. Of course, you have to provide something. You can't say that you don't have anything. Um, there's nothing like nothing.
Yes.
You have to provide something. It's then of course you just have to be ready for the likelihood say refusal. Into you have to provide something, otherwise just prepare your mind for the likelihood that you'll be refused. Yeah.
Adwene na wo so
Yeah.
kɔpɔ obi kakra afi de
Yeah.
yɛsi fa wo statement nyinaa bra ebi koraa na wo so
Yeah.
wotete wɔ baabi ɛyɛ a na ɛha adwene. You see, honestly, living in this country is like a war. If you don't have tactics, you will not survive. That is how I see it anyway. Lawyer is your better see na menhwɛ sɛ me nua lawyer ani wɔ hɔ a ɔmbɛma yɛn summary of what we've learned today in the English version. Sɛnea ɛbɛyɛ a we can be able to share among our neighboring countries. No monti and kromukasa no. It's a mema na kwaba lawyer Annie. If you are around, can we have the English version of today's topic?
Yes, so good morning to all our viewers and happy Friday to you all. So, the topic for today was how to basically submit a successful or a valid EUSS application. So, EUSS or the EU Settlement Scheme was introduced around 2019 March, and the deadline for most people to apply to the scheme was the 30th of June 2021. So, first of all, you cannot apply to the scheme if you are here in the UK as a visitor. So, let's say you've come to visit family members who are EU nationals, let's say they're German or from Italy, Spain, Portugal, and you've come to visit them here. You cannot apply to the EU settlement scheme as a visitor. So, in terms of how to submit a valid ESS application, you have to make sure that you use the correct form to begin with, because there are so many forms online. So, make sure that you go onto the gov.uk website and you type in EU settlement scheme so that you are completing the correct form. Then you also have to provide your ID as part of the application to confirm your identity. So that can be your passport or your identity card that you have. But normally we provide our clients like passports to prove their identity. And then you'd have to also go to get your biometrics taken. So you'd go to a visa application center where they will take like your fingerprints, and they'll take like a picture of your eyes as well. And then if you are a family member of an EU national, in that case you'd have to prove your relationship to that EU national. So let's say you are married to them. In that case, you'd provide your marriage certificate, or if you are a child of an EU national, let's say your father is an EU national, and you want to submit the application based on him, your father, then you provide your birth certificate. And as Lawyer Eunice said, so anyone who is submitting an EUSS application after the 30th of June 2021, they have to provide a reason, a reasonable reason as to why the application is late. So if you submit an EUSS application after the 30th of June 2021 and you do not provide a reason, your application will be rejected. It will not be valid, which means that the caseworker will not even consider like the documents that you provided. They will not consider the application. They will just say that the application is not valid because you didn't provide a good reason as to why the application is late. So we also looked at the reasonable reasons that there are according to the guidance. So, for example, if at the time of the deadline, June 2021, you had indefinite leave to remain or you had permanent residence. Some people think that if they had permanent residence at the time or they had indefinite leave to remain at the time, that they were good, that they didn't have to do anything. If you fall into that category, you can rely on that. However, you'd have to explain, you'd have to go into a lot more detail. So as part of the application form, you could provide like a cover letter to explain that you had indefinite leave to remain and you didn't know that you had to do anything else. Or even if, let's say, a child is in the foster care system, or they're in the foster care system and they did not know that about the EU settlement scheme at all, or they didn't know about the deadline. That person could also rely on that. So, for example, let's say the person just recently found out about the EU settlement scheme. In that case, too, they can rely on that. That would constitute a reasonable reason. And in terms of evidence, they can rely on like a letter from the care home. So as with all matters, it's not just by word of mouth. So you'd have to make sure that you have evidence. Another example is if the person was, let's say, critically ill at the time of the deadline. Let's say the person was maybe in a coma, like they were in hospital, they were not conscious, or they were having, let's say, cancer treatments, anything that was serious, and let's say the person was in hospital, they can rely on that as well. That would be a reasonable reason. That person would just have to provide, like, let's say, their medical reports or a letter from the hospital to confirm that indeed the person was, unwell at the time, that they were critically unwell at the time, or even if the person was in a domestic violence, abusive relationship at the time. So um, the let's say the partner, husband and wife, let's say one of them prevented the other from applying to the scheme, or the person took their passport or any documents that they needed as part of the application. That person can also rely on that. The victim can rely on that, but they would have to provide evidence that they were being abused at the time. So if it was physical abuse, pictures or any type of evidence that the person has, that would help. And yeah, so not knowing about the scheme by itself is not good enough. But if you have reasonable reasons, which I've just gone through, if you fall into one of those categories, you can rely on those, as long as you give a reason, you go into detail, and you provide evidence as well. So that's just a quick summary for today. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Lawyer Annie Akufo-Addo. Tiefoɔ no ahwɛfoɔ m sɛ ha na ɛmere bɛma yɛn ho kwan na yɛde dwumadie no abɛwie. Lawyer Eunice wei deɛ ɛsɔre akɔ nti quick
Aye.
na yɛakɔ.
So very, very quickly, I know say when it comes to your e-visas, people are still struggling
Struggling.
to get it done. So me
Yeah.
pam chop say more struggle say mobile say e-visas now. Very quickly you can come to us for us to help you with it, but you can also phone the home office. And I know say there are people who try, and when there's the biometric card is not being scanned, they will ask you to post your biometric card to them. And see, please, mon Shannon so namun to me and your e visa no latest by the 1st of June 2025. Nti it's here for Yadamase Bebre say with me joining yen for the program. BWS solicitors, it was Service Sisters Anna House, 4th floor of Anna House, 214 to 218 Tottenham Road. Yeah, office telephone number no yeah 0208 493 7340. With me afraid every science and as a with me afraid and booking appointments. Nti Yame Yadoma that's in there.
Definitely, Nyame aduma da sene. It's everyone for Hana did me baby. I hope you all enjoyed this today's education. It's been really beneficial to almost all of us. And to me, did say when you would chafa woman, continue sharing, continue liking our page. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the page. Press the notification button. When you come on board, you'll be the first person to have the notification say, yeah, ba. Community and the law is coming on. Don't miss it. Beautiful topic, beneficial topic. Ebema. Meda mo nyinaa siesi otwi anoma na obo anoma abo na oda so wokọ a. Janoma ne nko. Enti munja me na me nko. Etiefo, have a lovely weekend and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.
Based in London, we are a dynamic award-winning firm specializing in a range of legal services. Welcome to BWF Solicitors, a trusted and experienced law firm specializing in immigration and nationality, appeals and judicial review, dispute resolution, family and matrimonial, and other family law disputes with international context. These include matters such as private child arrangement orders, contestant and uncontested divorce, non-molestation for domestic violence, and financial remedy. Our childcare and family team appreciate the issues facing you at such a difficult time. Our advice is delivered in a confidential and sensitive manner. Meet Bernard Owusu, our esteemed senior partner, with over 32 years of experience and known for his expertise and dedication to serving our clients and the community. BWF Solicitors stands for integrity, respect, excellence, teamwork, diversity, inclusion, and service to the community. We provide tailored assistance specific to your case. At BWF Solicitors, every day is filled with dedication, creativity, and a commitment to finding the best solutions for our clients. Our team at BWF Solicitors is ready to assist you with all your legal needs. You can find us at the 4th floor, Anna House, 214 to 218 High Road, Seven Sisters, London, N15 4NP. Our main office line is 0208 493 7340, or our emergency line is 07712 761 884.